Let's talk about money. Not just earning it or spending it, but the very idea of it. Because right now, the cash in your pocket and the numbers in your bank app are on the brink of a massive, massive change. A fundamental update to how money works is coming, and we're going to break down what it all means for you.
So here's the big question. Is the money we use every single day about to get a software update? Well, the short answer is yeah, pretty much. The longer, much more interesting answer is what we're about to get into. But before we can really dive into where money is going, we have to be super clear on how it works right now. So let's start with the system we all know and use every day.
Right now, we're all living in a two-part system. On one hand, you've got physical cash, the bills and coins in your wallet. That's a direct IOU from the government. But on the other hand, you have bank deposits. You know, the numbers you see on your phone? That's actually an IOU from your commercial bank. The whole thing is built on these two different kinds of promises.
But let's be honest, this old system is really starting to show some cracks. Sending money can be incredibly slow. I mean, why does it take days for a transfer to clear? And it can be super expensive, especially if you're sending it across a border. For billions of people, it's not even an option. And it's these exact problems, these cracks in the foundation, that have thrown the doors wide open for something new.
And stepping into that opening are two major digital challengers, and they both have a completely different idea about how money should work in the 21st century. Okay, first up, you've got central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs for short. Now, the easiest way to get your head around this is to think of it as digital cash. It's the official currency, like the US dollar, but in a digital form, issued and guaranteed directly by the government's central bank. So it's a direct liability of the government, just like that $20 bill.
Now, this isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. As you can see here, governments are looking at a few different ways to do this. There's an indirect model, which still kind of uses the commercial banks we know today, but then there's the direct model, and that's a whole different ballgame. That could mean that you and I would have bank accounts directly with the central bank, completely bypassing the normal banking system. This is a huge debate happening right now in governments all over the world.
All right, our second challenger comes from a totally different corner, the private sector. We're talking about stablecoins. These are digital tokens created by companies, not governments. And to keep their value, well, stable, they're pegged to a real-world asset, usually the US dollar. It's kind of like a digital casino chip that's supposed to always be worth $1 because there's a real dollar sitting in a vault somewhere backing it up.
So how do they actually pull that off? Well, it's all about this mint and redeem cycle you see here. It's pretty simple, really. You give a company, say 100 real US dollars, and they mint 100 of their stablecoins for you. Then, whenever you want your real money back, you give them the coins and they redeem them for dollars. The whole system, and I mean the entire system, hinges on you trusting that the company actually has the cash in reserve to back up every single coin they've issued. So what we have here are two very different visions for the future of our money. One is a public utility built by the government. The other is a private innovation built by a company. So how do they really compare? Let's put them head to head.
This table really breaks it all down. With a CBDC, the issuer is the government, and your trust is backed by the full power of the law. With a stablecoin, the issuer is a private company, and your trust is in their bank account and their auditors. The key feature of a CBDC is that it's public infrastructure. For a stablecoin, it's private innovation. And that brings us to the biggest risks. For a CBDC, government surveillance and control. For a stablecoin, that the company behind it could just fail.
Okay, look, this is not just some abstract debate for economists. These changes could fundamentally reshape how every single one of us uses and even thinks about money. This really matters.
Let's start with a problem that is just staggering. Right now, there are 1.4 billion adults on this planet who don't have access to a bank account. They are completely locked out of the modern financial system. Digital money could be the key to finally changing that.
I want you to imagine someone. Let's call her Maria. She lives in a small village, miles from the nearest bank branch. With a CBDC, all she'd need is the most basic phone to have a digital wallet. Suddenly, she can get aid payments instantly. She can pay the grocer with a QR code, no bank account needed. For someone like Maria, this isn't just a cool new feature, it's an economic lifeline. So that all sounds incredible, right? A huge step forward. But, and this is a really big but, like any powerful new technology, this all comes with some very serious trade-offs that we absolutely have to talk about.
It really feels like we're facing a choice between two very different types of risk. With a government-run CBDC, the biggest fear is surveillance, a world where a central authority could see, track, and analyze every single thing you buy. On the flip side, with a private stablecoin, the risk is stability. What happens if the company mismanages its money or just goes bankrupt? Your digital dollars could become worthless overnight.
And then you have this idea of programmable money, which is a total double-edged sword. On the one hand, you can see the good it could do, right? You could make sure that welfare payments are only spent on things like food and rent. But the dark side of that is pretty terrifying. Imagine money that literally expires if you don't spend it, to force economic activity. Or a government just blocking you from buying a plane ticket or a book they don't approve of. It opens up a whole new world of control.
So, when you weigh all this, the massive potential and the really serious risks, where does that leave us? What is the future of money actually going to look like?
Well, it seems like there are a few possible paths. The most likely, at least for a while, is probably a hybrid system where all these things live side by side. You might end up in a world where we use specialized money for different things. Maybe a CBDC for paying your local taxes, a stablecoin for doing business internationally, and good old-fashioned cash for grabbing a coffee without anyone tracking you.
Because in the end, this entire conversation, all the technology, all the economics, it really boils down to this one simple idea. The future of money is not a technical question. It's a question of who you trust. Do you trust the government? Do you trust private corporations? Or maybe, do you trust something else entirely? The choice we make is going to define a whole lot more than just what's in our wallets.